And before we begin, excuse me one second.
Yeah.
Bob Hayes from Hudson Hills came in earlier. He came and sat through a recent meeting to see how things worked. And at the end of the meeting, I said, let us know when you're ready.
Ooh.
He talked to Jeff today, and I think Jeff thought that he had already communicated with me. So he is waiting. I wanted to wait until you got here, for sure, but can he see us at the end of, he wants to do, has a workshop question. Can he see us at the end of 20 the Boulevard?
When's it?
Tonight. He's
Tonight.
wondering if he can come in tonight to throw some
Okay.
ideas around.
All right. Fine with me.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah. Go back to my house.
He came home from a Yankees game with his kid to having thought that he was set for tonight, so you can accommodate him, it's good. All right, onward.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, thank you so much for making the time tonight. We're really excited. We moved up here to Cold Spring about 2 years ago, and our story isn't all that unlike many people's stories coming from New York City. What's that?
Not quite 2 years.
Yeah, not quite 2 years, but fell in love with the history and beauty of this area and just had to live up here, and so moved from Manhattan up this way about 2 years ago. That's our dog Alan, who likes to hike with us. That's us. Where are we in this picture? I guess we're in
I think
Storm
that's
King.
Storm King, that's
And
great.
that's
Yeah.
great. Right. So we love it up here. We're really passionate about historic preservation and just about preservation in general. So I thought it would just be helpful to do a brief history of 4 Stone Street. We're about maybe 20 or 30% through figuring out exactly what happened with this house over the course of almost 200 years, but we're getting there. So what previous owners have told us is that the house was built in 1850. And kind of pulling the deeds, we've gone back a little bit farther than that, and we've taken it back to the 1840s and potentially even the late 1830s. So this is the first photograph of the house when it was owned by Robert P. Parrott, of course famous for his work at the Foundry and the Parrott Cannon. But you can see the gentleman there on the left. And as you zoom in on the house, you can see that there was at one time a
Porch.
porch, a gingerbread porch. You can see, looking at Stone Street, it really wasn't a street at that point. It wasn't really developed. This was kind of the first house on Stone Street before it was a street. Fast forwarding, this is the next photograph that we have. This is about circa 1890. You can see a little more detail on the right. The porch is still there. You can see the shutters, the 6/6 windows. Moving forward, the 60s, of course, everything happens in the 60s. Penn Station, bad decisions were made in the 60s. Although we don't know when the porch came off or when the shutters came off, this picture shows that they're both gone
And the
at this
barn,
point.
is, I don't know if it's vinyl or it's gray there.
Yeah, that could be. The dormer is there.
Still there, yeah.
So 2010, this is a photograph before we purchased the house. The original shutters are back on. You can see from this angle that a cinder block stoop replaced the porch as the entryway to the front of the house. Fast forwarding
There was
to
a side entrance there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a side entrance. Fast forwarding to when we purchased the house, definitely where that arrow is at the front of the house, you can see where the old porch was. Unfortunately, the shutters are now gone for good. The previous owner, unfortunately.
We heard they were
Um,
damaged in Sandy, I think, and she chucked them.
Yeah.
I know.
But you know what they look like, you have a photo
Yes.
of them.
Yeah, they're very basic louvered function,
Yeah.
operable
It's too
louvered
bad for you
shutters.
guys, you have to replace them all.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. So this is kind of the state which we kind of inherited the house. Since then, you can see we've done definitely some pretty extensive landscaping work. 2 major projects. One was brick rejointing and rebuilding. So we found a mason who is from England and worked on some historical structures there, churches and castles, and spent a couple of months really working on matching the mortar, which
He
is like
worked so
which
hard
is
to
the
get it
key.
the perfect, yeah, I mean, he mixed and mixed and mixed.
We did
This one.
we did chemical sampling to try to figure out kind of what it was made of, and then the other challenge is matching the brick itself. So we used all salvage brick from the area. So really wanted to do the right thing here, and you can see I showed a close up. That actually shows an old and a new portion, which it's really difficult to tell the difference. So he really after many samples, he really nailed it. It was a pretty extensive project. And then the second was we're restoring. We have almost all of the original windows, which date back the original windows to the house. So we're doing a pretty extensive full restoration of those windows, making them operable again. They're double hung 6/6 windows, and we've taken it really far. About half of the panes had been replaced over the years with modern glass. We found a place down in Philadelphia, a salvage yard, that will actually match the glass to the year that your house was built, and then also to the region, because a lot of different glass makers used different
Wow.
sands, and so we were really able to nail the glass, I think. And so we're in the middle of that
close, yeah.
project now, but the point of this being that we are really a priority for us is definitely restoration and preservation.
We
That's
care
the-
about the integrity of the
Yeah.
house.
I think that's the key kind of takeaway. So, so some of the challenges in the house here, I'll just point some of this stuff out. We've got a couple just modern
We're stuck
vinyl,
with a vinyl window
vinyl
there, and we
windows
took
here.
the door out.
which we like to have, be wood divided glass windows.
On that lower portion, this is vinyl window?
Yeah.
That's not what was supposed to go in there. Do you remember we spent a lot of time on that?
Yeah.
That
No,
was
Well,
the-
they-
and
that's
there
not-
was a.
They just they never
they never
replaced
finished.
it.
Yeah.
So there's some roofing that's on the side of the dormer that really kind of makes it look cheesy. The entryway, they framed out a different, at some point, maybe it was when the porch came off, I don't know when, but they framed a new entryway so they could fit a modern door. We've done some excavation behind that door and found that there was once a double door there. So we were up at Zaborski's at the salvage yard this weekend, and we found a double door that we love that we think could
It's
fit.
like actually fits, it's like the exact dimensions. It's weird.
There are a lot
It's
of double
like-
doors
it's
torn out of the village houses.
Yeah. It's from that era, 1850s. So we're hoping to do salvage there. The stoop is cinder block with a kind of a modern wrought iron railing, which isn't all that aesthetically appealing. And then the other challenge we face is just our kitchen. It's really tiny. And has no surface space. So we were really excited to move up here, and one of the
It's
things
bigger
that
than our kitchen in New York, but.
but not much.
It has a counter.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the real challenges are in the rear of the house. This is an extension that was put on in the 80s or 90s. Really, really poorly done.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It has to be demolished. It's just in such a state of
It's
decay.
rotting. Yeah, and the only way, so the downstairs portion there is the only way you can access that is through that door. And then you have to go up and around through the top and down through a spiral staircase, so it's just like, it's
So the
not
kitchen,
functional.
the kitchen is here, and there's that brick wall. So there's actually no way to get to this room. You have to go up, around, and then there's a spiral staircase.
Yeah.
So we don't really actually functionally are able to use this. I think someone built it as a apartment.
Oh,
unit.
maybe an in-laws apartment.
Yeah, an in-laws
Something,
apartment.
yeah.
So I was gonna say, what was it?
It was
I don't
all It was
know.
all broken up. There was an apartment in the basement.
Oh, an apartment.
Yeah, an apartment in the basement as well.
Oh.
So, and it just, it really doesn't look
We
too
haven't
good.
really figured out how to utilize the space like that. Yeah, and it looks bad.
So those are the challenges. We explored a number of options. We've been going through this for about a year. One option at the very beginning was to actually replace the
original.
gingerbread hand-sawn porch. We quickly realized if you kind of look at the way that the stoop just sits in the middle of the sidewalk, there just wouldn't be enough variance for that. You'd have to build it out onto the street. You'd have to change the sidewalk and change the street. And I think we came to the conclusion that the porch coming off was something that happened to the house. Maybe it was 100 years ago, but it does indicate the history of the block, that the block was expanded
They
or
widened the
Street.
street.
they
Yes.
widened the street.
A lot of the houses in the village have these, like, they have to like buy part of, they have to buy their stoop from the village. There's a lot of inconsistencies that we
Yeah. So we kind of got beyond trying to replace the entire porch and realized this is something that happened to the house. And
Yeah.
a lot of the houses in town have those kind of gingerbread porches, and I think this makes it a little bit unique that it's different and it happened. So this is just to show you just kind of some of the crazy ideas that we.
Our thought process.
We also considered quite a large expansion in the back, which we ultimately moved away from. We felt that the massing with the barn, that it really dominated the barn, and just kind of the massing and views and just the way that it shaded things was just a little bit too extreme, given the modest size of the historical part of the house. So just to show you just how far we took this thing, and then this is where we've ended up. So here, showing a lot of what we talked about, divided light windows in the dormer, fish scale siding on the dormer to give it a little more character, really just kind of returning the face of the house, a lot of which has been lost over time. The shutters, which we talked about, the double doors, we're envisioning a little entryway hood. As you come up the stoop, there's no protection from the rain, the door isn't protected. So we're thinking about a little hand-sawn kind of hood or cover. And then on the stoop, we can talk about that a little bit. We're thinking about doing it as a brick foundation with bluestone top, bluestone surface. So our brick mason, we've talked to him quite a bit about this, and the original plan was to demo the existing
Stoop.
concrete
Cinder
stoop.
blocks.
He has really urged us not to do that for a number of reasons. One being that there's really no telling how much that stoop is intertwined
Supporting
with the
the
foundation of
foundation.
the house. And second of all, the foundation of the stoop goes into the street. So if we were to demo that, we'd actually have to dig out a foundation, and who knows what's under there, there could be pipes, electrical. So he raised the idea of veneer, and that was kind of a dirty word for me for a while until he actually did some veneer work for us. This window here, the previous owner had really done a bad job of matching the brick. And rather than actually demoing it and starting from scratch, he did a veneer there. And I think he did a really nice job using, again, the mortar that we matched, the salvaged bricks.
Do you mean a tile, not a veneer?
No,
Mm-hmm.
it's real brick.
It's
Full
real
It's
brick.
just cut, it's not the
it's
whole
the-
brick.
Yeah,
down to
yeah,
about
tile.
Yeah.
a tile, okay, yeah, it's 2 inches or so of
He was
of brick.
sawing the salvage brick in our yard.
Mhm.
It was like a
Yeah.
dust storm with the,
Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been thinking.
He also raised concerns about if he did have to go down into the sidewalk, that he would have to get certain permits and things because the village could be held responsible, right, if he was down there doing anything.
And what
which is
happens,
dangerous.
remind me, there's a window, or there was a third window under the door or near the door, right? Is there a partial window
Yeah.
exposed
Yeah.
there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what happens on the inside? Is the window just bricked
Yeah,
over?
it's
Can you
just-
see out to that
No.
foundation, or nothing,
No,
it's just brick?
no, it's just been bricked and sheetrocked over. So that's just kind of most of this is really just aesthetic and kind of putting the face back on the house, I think. And I think we came to a good middle ground here with not fully replacing the porch.
And I
but,
think we wanted to stick with the wrought iron.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
going to do some wrought iron that had a little more detail in it, not just kind of your basic. So just kind of some sort of Victorian flourishes, I think, in the wrought iron. And then moving, so this is the vision for the back. So we're going that existing extension, the wood frame extension, it ends right about here now. So the vision here is to go,
Well, we'd like to connect the kitchen with the extension first of all, right?
so taking down the brick wall
Mhm.
that separates that extension from the kitchen here, demoing that extension in the back and building this wood frame structure that would go an additional 10 feet back beyond what the extension, where the extension goes now, and comes 5 feet in this direction. And then from the top, going another 5 feet back on the bedroom that's on the top, and 5 feet in this direction.
So it's not on the same plane as that middle portion anymore? It comes more toward the driveway than that central portion, that first addition?
It's on the same plane. It just comes 5 feet south towards the driveway.
So the building becomes a U shape?
You know what? Let's look at the. I'll show you.
It's almost like the brick portion is recessed a little, but the,
So this is the existing footprint.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the kitchen. This would be that wood frame extension in the back. So we're going 10 feet back, and then 5 feet in this direction. So it forms kind of an L-ish with an exit into the backyard, which we're thinking about turning into a courtyard. So it really makes it a functional, just kind of a modern kitchen and den space.
in that area, point to the, new porch that would go up that way.
Here?
No, the other porch.
Here?
Yeah,
Yeah, there would be.
Oh, okay.
Those are the
that would make
stairs going
sense.
into the
Gotcha.
porch, there's
Yeah.
the, yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what your lot coverage would be if you do this? Because you may have a lot coverage issue.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering.
Have you talked to the zoning board?
I talked to the zoning board, yeah, they said we have, as long as we have 20 feet, as long as we still have 20, when we go back, as long as we have 20 feet of yard.
That's a setback, that's different
Okay.
than lot coverage.
Okay,
Lot coverage is what percentage of your lot is covered by structure.
right.
So
And
that's
it
probably,
includes
that's a
the
question
garage.
you're gonna wanna figure out
Okay.
sooner rather than later. Is
Okay.
whether you could achieve this
Yeah,
footprint with your lot coverage, or whether you'd need a variance and how likely that variance would be.
okay, that's a good call. Yeah, I think we still have at least 50% of the lot is open space. But like I said, is there like a standard in town or?
35%.
Well, it's in the code. What you have to do is look up the zoning ordinances.
It's chapter 134.
Yeah.
I think it's
Okay.
35%. But you've got a very big barn too.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and that will count
That
toward your lot
counts.
coverage.
Yes.
That and also, you're still gonna wind up going to the zoning board because, now go back to the plan. I would assume that your lot line is along the topmost wall.
That's right.
Then what you're extending is a nonconformance, because I'm pretty sure that you're supposed to have a side yard. So, that may be an issue.
Oh, on the north side, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that may be an issue that you could deal with the zoning board, but if you've spoken with them and they seem to be acceptable, then.
I think we probably have to have that conversation. Yeah, because we were just talking with them about going
Back,
going back
yeah.
part, but not the.
Well, the going back part that Al raises is normally you can't continue an existing nonconformity. So right now, you don't have any side yard setback on the back portion of the building. So
Right.
making it bigger would expand a nonconformity, and
Right.
usually that isn't allowable.
Right.
And you would have to unless you got a variance, you'd have to
Right.
give yourself that side yard setback.
Right.
But, I mean, we're not that board, so we can't speak for them. But
Yeah.
that, one of the things that you could talk with them about is the fact that it is an existing nonconformity, and maybe there's
Right.
flexibility based on that. I mean, it's
Right.
pretty dense on that block.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know how they'd feel about that though, so that's,
Yeah.
up to them.
Yeah. But we're doing it in the right order, coming here first, and
Yeah, for your design concept, yeah.
so just a couple highlights here. So we had envisioned this on the first floor being these kind of floor-to-ceiling French windows, which we've seen a number of examples of in town, which kind of inspired us. Another thing here is that we would have the wood frame portion here. These would be kind of almost classical columns. We don't have that fully drawn out, but you can see them on either side. And then up top we'd have wood divided light 6/6 double hung windows.
Yeah, and we opted to keep the balcony there because the door is there. And we thought, we don't know how far the balcony dates back. But that was something kicked around.
Because that was an apartment entrance back there.
So if you go back to if you go back to this picture, you can see that there's no the extension in the back is just the kitchen portion. There was no second floor. We think that the second floor was more like 1890s, turn of the century. So that that doorway could date to. Let's go to this picture. Yeah. So that second floor brick portion is not original to the house, it's an extension. So that door out to the balcony could go back 100 years or so. But the balcony you can see is wood clad and modern.
So now you would be proposing a staircase that rises to the north to meet a more open deck up here, right?
No, the only entrance would
There
be
you go.
from the, oh no, that's not a staircase. Do you see what she's saying?
Oh yeah, sorry, that's the mudroom.
That's
To
our
go
little
into the
like
kitchen.
breezeway that is there now.
Yeah, you'd only be able to access that porch the way you can access it now, which is through the door.
On the
The
second
balcony.
floor.
Interior?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there what's reflected in that drawing?
That's actually just the current. We have a. I'll show you. There's a mudroom there now to get into the kitchen,
Oh.
and so that we would just be. It's in a pretty bad state of decay.
Oh, it's actually glassed
There's a
in.
window
Yeah.
there.
Ah,
Yeah. So it would be something that looks like this, but
Bit better.
Cleaned up.
Yeah.
I was reading it as a stoop. Okay.
Yeah, no.
So this would be the view from the backyard, entrance out to the backyard into the. We're going to turn the backyard into kind of a courtyard, and then I just wanted to. So we shared the floor plan on the first floor. The second floor would be expanding the size of that of the bedroom upstairs to make it actually functional. Right now, it doesn't really even fit a double bed, so it's not really a functional space. And then I just wanted to show just a couple places where we got inspiration around town. There are a number of examples on the top of brick stoops that have bluestone on top. We just really like that. It seems to be the most common kind of way that stoops are built. A lot of examples of old double doors from houses that date to our house. So on the right, that's Main Street. The French windows, that's an example on Chestnut Street of just, I think, an Italianate house that has those kind of floor-to-ceiling French windows. The hood cover, that's actually something we saw in a captain's house up in Hudson, but that's kind of where we got the inspiration for this. And then the column, the kind of classical column look that we would have on the exterior of the extension, that's actually comes from one of our fireplace mantles. So we just kind of got that classical federal inspiration from something that came inside the house. And that's it. Mark Furlow helped us dig up all these images, so we definitely thank him.
He's pretty great.
Yeah.
He's the town historian and village historian. He took when Donald McDonald died, his collection went to Mr. Forlow.
Oh, okay, because I wouldn't know about his predecessor.
That's all we have. That's about as far as we've taken it.
So tonight you're looking for sort of response to the design concept.
Yeah. I
Well,
think
we were planning to come on in April, but we wanna make sure we have everything that you guys are looking for, you know, all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, and just make sure we're doing our due diligence.
And I think the extension is not wouldn't be very visible from the street, but the kind of bumping it 5 feet out makes it somewhat visible from just certain angles.
It's also gonna have some visibility from Fair Street.
Potentially, yeah, in the winter. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we have.
I think that Done a lot of research on the building, and I'm glad to see that. I think that, I guess as far as the porch goes, I have to agree with you. You're not gonna be able to restore the porch. I doubt if the cinder block, it's probably, well, it could be cinder block.
Yeah.
Big spatula, is tied into the masonry wall, but realistically, one of the things that you have to take a look at is that there are code required sizes of risers and treads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the issue becomes, at what point do you have to follow the new dimensions? Because what you're talking about is putting, a bluestone slab on top of the existing treads. What are the existing treads?
What are the dimensions?
No, what, I mean,
Oh,
what's the
it's-
top surface?
It's
Blocks.
just
Just
the
the-
box.
Concrete.
Just concrete
Yeah.
smeared on top of the block, okay.
I mean, one option is, actually the way it's drawn here is that the stairs are a little bit, they're not as steep, they're a little more delicately
Gradual.
sloped, more gradual. So that's one option, is you could kind of take them a little bit further to make them, because they're pretty tight right now.
Well, if you do that, then essentially you're gonna have to rebuild, because you can't just theoretically,
Yeah,
Right.
theoretically, the stairs should be on a foundation, so it doesn't suffer
Right.
from frost heat,
right,
lifting up and down.
right.
So either you follow the footprint of the existing structure, or you wind up having to knock it down and just, build a mill.
Right.
So.
Which is not, I mean, it's not something we're opposed to, it's just a bigger project.
Our mason just kind of said, anything can happen. Just
Well,
beware,
it could.
like that could.
You never know, because you are, it is tight to the sidewalk, and,
Well, and the other thing is that we know on that street, there's been a lot of water incursion on that street and problems with neighbors, so, I would wonder about what you're gonna, there's a reason that those stairs were built as they were.
Right.
And
Right.
who knows how to, I doubt also that they're integral to the foundation stone, but who knows what caused them to be built that way in the first place. It may have
Right.
been cost saving, it may have been to cover some other damage.
Well, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been to cover a fire, because when we were doing some restoration of the bricks, we pulled out some ash and,
Yeah.
I think this is a very decent compromise, the porch option, given the fact that the building has had a number of changes over time and sort of lives in a number of periods.
Yes.
The bringing that hood over the door and getting a double door back does sort of anchor you in the original period of the house, but you're still communicating the evolution over time. I'm intrigued about the wrought iron and what that could look like.
yeah,
The thing that's nice about it is that there's the potential to see the building behind it well, because you'll be able to use smaller members.
Right.
And that block is really special. It's sort of, that block always feels like Ireland to me, the old brick
yeah.
row houses, and
Yeah.
and being able to read those original structures is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with what I was thinking,
Well, I
it
don't have a
is-
problem either. I'm saying I'm interested
Yeah.
in it,
Yeah,
because I think it
think
leaves more
it's-
exposed.
It harkens back to that period.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you're not restoring what was there originally, which you can't for all practical purposes, then, this is sort of, of its time. So I think that, I don't have any particular problem with it.
And if you are able, from a code perspective, to maintain that stoop and veneer, the prospect of not seeing the concrete block anymore and seeing instead brick and bluestone is super exciting because the public does live so close to your house.
Yeah.
It's an eyesore, the cinder block, I mean.
Well, you've already done so much. It's
Did
already
your
improving.
Mason and did he propose more of the brick, half brick, the brick tile, I think we're calling it, where why didn't he think of putting brick tile over the cinder block?
That is what he's proposed.
Oh, I thought we
Oh,
were talking
sorry.
about wood veneer.
No, it's not wood. It just looks.
It
looks
doesn't
wrong.
look like brick,
Yeah, we
but
have
no.
to-
Oh,
that's
I was
what
gonna
he-
say
that's
there'd
what
be
he-
moisture
yeah. No, that-
problems.
yeah.
Like,
No,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
No.
So that is brick.
That's
Sorry,
brick.
that's supposed
Yeah.
to be brick.
Oh,
If it was we considered wood sawn balustrades and having the whole thing made out of wood, but it
Okay, maybe
sits in
that's
the
where I
street.
We're
Then
so close to the
that's why.
street and the plow
The
pushes
plow
so much
just pushes
snow
everything
up on it.
So
Yeah,
that's
which is
probably why
weird.
they made it out of cinder block. That's in I think it was 50s or 60s that
Mm.
structure was built, or concrete, just because it just incurs so much damage from the street,
Yeah.
from the snow. And,
Well, they would have had to build it when they took down the porch. Well, we were just insisting that,
our neighbor remembers he was a kid and he remembers the day that it was being built. He
The
doesn't
day
remember
the porch was being built.
He doesn't remember the day the porch was he doesn't remember the porch being demolished. He remembers when this was being built.
Doesn't remember the date.
So you have 60s.
Oh, the
60s,
60s.
yeah.
So do you, just to make sure I'm reading your drawings correctly,
Yeah.
you on the additions,
Yes.
you're maintaining the roof line from one addition to the other, right? There's not a roof
I
change.
don't think so.
What goes on at this end?
So
So this is gonna be set back to the north and to the west, right?
to the east and to the south.
You're gonna have open space on the
Yes.
Phillipstown side, Town Hall side, and on the Main Street side.
Yes.
If it's be
Yes.
set back on the Main Street
Yes.
side.
Yes.
So what happens on that roof?
So what happens on that roof is, I'll show you. Let's go to the model. So this is actually,
That's not it.
that's not it, but this is the only thing that shows the
The
roof.
closest thing.
So this structure was built and they had the roof sloping down like this. If we're to bump out a few feet in this direction, the roof line would have to be, you couldn't just have one sloping roof. You'd have to have a split roof like that.
And so to remedy that, you're proposing continuing that plane on the top. What I don't understand is how this decked area ends. How it dies into an addition that's
Yeah.
partial.
Let's actually, it's better to see the floor plan. So this is the floor plan for the second, this is the second floor.
So that includes the addition. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So this is the existing balcony now.
Mhm.
You access it from addition number 1. The
So
brick
sorry,
addi-
it is coming out to meet the bottom on the Main Street side. This way. Keep going, go ahead.
Oh, I don't. So that wood addition comes out to about, let's say, here. So we're going back a couple feet and going in this direction a couple feet.
She's asking what happens on the roof of the of the first floor extension, like
at
there.
Oh,
the
here?
junction. No, I'm asking
Oh.
about right here.
Oh, there.
At this junction of this decked area and the bedroom.
Yeah, there would just be a window here. There'd just be a
Because in this image, it looks as if this is all across the same plane and this just ends here.
I see. No, it
What's
doesn't. Because
Now I
this
understand
comes
that
out.
instead of
I'm
the-
sorry. Yeah, and then we should have drawn a window here. But yeah, because this comes out, the balcony just kind of ends here, and there would be a window on that facade.
Okay.
I would suggest that you look at that condition a little bit carefully, because that's a pretty funky flashing detail.
Yes, it is.
Two roofs meet.
Yeah, it's really tricky. We've thought about it for so long, and there's not a lot of, because of the way that little brick section was is kind of wedged there. and has that roof, the roof that slopes.
Mhm.
I guess we could,
Well, I mean, the one thing which you can, and I'll throw it out to the board members or spitballing here, the existing roof of, or the roof on the existing brick extension, you could probably change that and make it match the roof that you have for the new addition.
that's what we're
I mean,
thinking, yeah, we've been
I
thinking,
don't
yeah.
see any great loss
No.
in that shed roof.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I was just thinking about leaky spots that could happen at that junction.
yeah. Yeah, and then the other challenge is that part of it would be draining into our neighbor's driveway, so we'd have to figure out how,
Yeah.
um,
So
so,
you may end up with a subsurface drain over there, maybe.
yeah. And this is, again, this is not the act, this is just to look at the roof. This is
Right.
not, we have 3D models for the,
In terms of the concept, I can think about other houses around the village of roughly this age that have these sort of marching French doors, and it sort of gives a sun porch feeling to the rear almost, and lightens I think it lightens the impact, right?
Mhm.
Because it's sort of, you've got a very solid structure at the front in brick, and then you've got this open and glassy addition to the back. I'm thinking about the Cuppers.
I was just gonna
The
say the
Cuppers.
Cuppers, Sandlin's house.
No, Sandlin's another good
20
example.
Boulevard.
So there's certainly precedent for that. I think it's it's a really lovely way to balance the mass. The only real concern I have around the back is not a concern of this board, which is, are you gonna be able to achieve this footprint? And that's a question you need to answer before you develop your design further, is can we even accomplish this size on the lot we have? But in concept, I'm very comfortable with the addition, and I think it's being done very respectfully and deferentially.
Mhm.
I think you really like honed in on something that we've been talking about a lot, was really, the goal was to have this be as much glass as possible. They do this a lot in London, where they have, really these kind of tight townhouses. When they put the extensions on the back, that's just like all glass, almost like a greenhouse or a
Yeah.
conservatory. And that's kind of was the vision for it to be. At one point, we were considering actually just having a all glass kind of sunroom back there that you could eat in. So, yeah, the goal was for it to not feel like you have a giant structure sitting in your backyard, because again, we want a courtyard back there, and it's a really nice sized lot. And it doesn't, the massing doesn't feel wrong on the lot now, even with the barn. It's a good 90 by 45 lot. So we really wanted it to just blend and not feel like we had some big, huge honking wood frame addition on the back.
Can you help me, one more thing that I'm having trouble
Yeah.
reading is when I'm looking at the rear view.
Yes.
So, from the side,
Yeah.
from the driveway, it looked as if that rear entrance structure remained. From this view, it looks as if it's subsumed, but I think that's because we're seeing them flat.
Exactly. It's being blocked by the bump out a little bit, but it's still,
It will still, so
There's
you'll
still-
still have it,
Yeah.
some sort of frame structure. So that detail needs to get worked out,
Yeah.
so it's clearer,
yeah, you would
obviously.
still be walking up some stairs here and entering the kitchen here. And this would be the mudroom. But yeah, we need to flesh that out further about what that's gonna look like. I think it would probably also be mostly glass. But what happens is, cause this is bumped out by 5 feet,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at it directly from the back, you
You don't
can't see that entry
Right.
way.
Any idea of what the other side is gonna look like? The lot line side? Because
Yeah.
you're not tied up against any other building. I mean, that would be visible from your neighbors.
That's right, it's right on, it would be run right along his driveway.
Right.
Yeah. It's not gonna have any windows, it's just gonna be probably, Actually, what we would probably
It is
do.
pretty tight. That's
It's a tight
that's the gentleman who came in,
Steve.
the Duke Steve, who came
Yeah.
into our design standards workshops. It is very, it's just a couple feet,
Probably
so it's not gonna have a lot of visibility on
it'd
it.
be wood framed, and we might maybe just paint it red to exactly match the brick if that's what he wanted. Actually, probably whatever.
Yeah.
What I would wanna do is see what this looks like from,
His side?
no,
Okay.
from, I'm trying to remember the name of the street, the end of the block that cuts down from Fair Street.
From Cross
Cause
Street.
you can see, Cross Street, you see all the way down
Yep.
through those yards, and that was one of the big issues around, we were talking about Shed Gate, that was one of the things that got talked about a lot, was the visibility of the rear yard structures and how unusual this block is because it retains almost all of its outbuildings.
Right.
On Cross Street, you see them all.
Yes,
So
that's a
I just
great
don't
call.
remember in my head how far down
You can see it.
you can see,
Yeah.
so I would wanna walk around and have a sense of that.
Okay. Yeah, in the winter you can definitely see it.
Yeah, and I don't think that the wood addition to the structure, I mean, we have absolutely no say over color, but I don't think you have to try and match brick because it's not brick, and this is obviously a new addition, and so it needs to be appropriate to the existing structure, but it doesn't have to match it, or it doesn't have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't have to walk in lockstep with
Distinct is better.
the existing building.
So we'll definitely
Okay.
get maybe some photographs or.
Yeah.
Well, we'll also walk the blocks
Okay.
and take a look too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else, what other information or feedback would be helpful to you tonight, so that we can,
Sheets.
Yeah, I know we're.
so material specifications, obviously the next big
That right?
piece,
Yeah.
telling us everything how everything is made, where you're gonna run gutters, leaders.
Yep. Yep.
That's the next big piece.
The one thing, if you go to the end elevation, that one, what you may be able to do as far as a gutter on your lot line side is that looks like now is your lot line in line with the eave of the roof of the main house or with the wall?
The eave hangs over our neighbor's driveway, so yeah.
Well, and what you may be able to do is have a gutter which drains to the back and then just collect it all there with leaders and bring it down.
And then kind of run it around to the backyard. Yeah, that's a good
That's a good idea.
How much detail, so for the front part, let's say like for the shutters, what do you need for things like that? Do you need to know that it's being made out of cedar or mahogany or the
Just
hardware?
wood.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
wood, okay.
Are you, I don't remember from the images, are there clips? Do you still have the clips of the?
We have some
We
of the old
do.
Acme hardware, but not all of it. So we've been salvaging everything. So we would just try to salvage.
Lose yourself for days at Zaborski's.
I know.
Yeah.
So so we'll need to know things like, doorknobs, knockers, hardware.
Yeah.
Detail on what you're hoping, if you're having the fence manufactured, sort of the manufacturer's drawing of what it's going to look like.
Yep. For the hardware on the door, since we're thinking of salvaging a door, would would come with
Came
most of
with
the
it.
hardware? Would a picture suffice, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that basically all we really need is just an idea of what it is that they're proposing. What I would do from what I see is take a look at the overhang. I think that, you're right in putting that back. And I think that you have the entire wall area. I mean, it looks awfully flat, and you may want to pitch it a little bit more as far as, draining it to the outside. And I think that, you're gonna have to take a look at how you would clad the CMU structure with the brick tile and the bluestone flagging.
Right.
So
Right,
I think that you need to look at that carefully to make sure it's thought out before you, you know, you commit to something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anything else that's helpful tonight?
That's it. It
That's
seems
it.
like we're at time. I don't know if you'd wanted to, we didn't have anything to share with you on the barn. I didn't
Other than
know.
it's stable
Yeah, it's not gonna
and
fall
no longer
down,
leaking.
according
That's
to our
good.
engineer.
Yeah.
And I think we have a 2 to 3 year plan for restoring that, but you know,
Yeah,
it's gotta win the lottery first.
I mean, just keep in mind that you can submit pieces of it as you want to move forward, you know, as you have a
Yeah.
budget to do the work. So, you know, for example, if you would want to do the front facade alone, you know, you can submit that. It doesn't have to be a
The
whole
whole
package.
thing.
We're actually thinking
Because-
about doing it that way in 2 phases, the front and the
Right,
back.
because I can tell you that the back part is going to be a little bit more complicated, and you do really need to address the issue as far as lot coverage, because I don't recall what the lot coverage is,
I think
but
it's
it's
35%.
35%.
I think
35%, you have to have 35%,
that's the maximum
oh,
coverage.
That's
that's
maximum.
the maximum coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And you may already be over that
Over
with the
it
barn.
because of that, yeah.
But if you were wanting to proceed with the front door and the stoop change, you could come back in with when you make your application, you could apply for just that portion if you have some more things you have to work out on the other side. If
Okay,
you're trying to accomplish the front facade of this building season.
we are, yeah,
So
that's
That
what,
was
that's
that's,
a
kind of our goal
possibility.
for
So
this
just-
year.
Just
Yeah.
stay in touch as you talk with the zoning board and let us know what application you're making. So when we notice
right,
the review, we've got the right stuff on your.
So should they make like a separate application for?
Well, they haven't made an application yet. They've just
But when they do, maybe just that, and
Right.
then.
yeah.
yeah, we wanna do the front this season and the back next season.
Yeah.
So if you still have a lot of details to work out, you can decide to hold off on that and just put in for the work that you wanna do now.
Right, put in with you and the zoning board.
Well, the front, I don't know if it's gonna be a zoning board issue. The back part certainly will, but the front, you're not proposing to make any changes, but even adding 2 inches, I think you're gonna be encroaching the sidewalk.
Yes,
Well,
Mhm.
so when you make your application, you'll apply for a building permit first, and
Yeah.
you'll get referred to the boards you need to see. So
Yeah.
at that point, it will be determined whether you need to see the zoning board for that front or not. I mean, the other thing that may change with your mason, depending on how much he's adding in veneers, is your rise-run ratio may shift so much that you have to consider other options
Right.
anyway.
right,
So
okay,
that's your first step,
Yeah,
is your building
that's
permit
helpful.
application, and that refers you out.
Okay.
all right, thank you
Good
very
luck.
much.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the care you're taking.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Very impressive turnaround. It's like working on grad student. And thank you for bringing the images. Are all 4 of you coming up? You want one more chair?
Thank you.
Alrighty, have a good night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I know, how are you?
Not too bad.
I didn't bring it easy.
Thought it was spring there and it got cold again.
It's supposed to snow on Friday again.
I know.
I can't take it.
Really weird.
Thanks so much for
Yeah,
your
sure. Good luck.
guiding us
And-
through this process.
Sure, and if you have
Oh,
questions,
April
be in
snows.
touch with me or Jeff.
Okay.
No longer
Do you need
April
extra
showers.
copies, or are you
Not at
good?
this stage.
Okay, okay, great,
Great.
thanks.
Thanks.
May.
Woes.
Woes.
Right, whatever.
Mud season. That special thing they're supposed to have in Vermont, but I think we're gonna have it too.
Okay, should I move over here?
Let me shift over.
Yeah, I would've brought my projector if I realized there was a way to do that here. That was pretty clever.
Is that yours?
Oh, that's my stuff, okay.
Oh.
You're not old enough to be playing this sort of thing,
Since she
Andrea.
moved my things, I thought they were
Oh,
over there.
she.
Oh, I got a nice chair.
Yeah, how much snow did you get up here?
Couple
I think it was-
inches.
Yeah.
We canceled school.
We had more than,
I was down in the Bronx and they said, a little dusting. Must have been about 6 to 8 inches.
yeah, no, it was like, the last time it was, we had all the hoopla and it was the snowpocalypse.
Right.
And we got less snow then than we got this time, which was just some snow. And then suddenly the
Right.
bird feeder had, like 8 inches on it.
We
And it was-
figured we'd be fine. We got a parking ticket on that snow day, on that
Oh, really?
morning of all the snow.
Right?
We got a parking ticket.
Wow.
They were out.
Yeah, the city's gotta make its money.
Happens here too.
Okay, so the form driver that showed up was the confab that Marianne and David and the family had about accessibility to future accessibility in living in the house. So that meant that the attic disappeared and that sort of level change in the back, kind of the
Compressed.
playroom was, put back on the elevator, came back up at the same level.
Mm.
So, that,
I
that
confess that I
then,
thought about that when you were here, and I wish that I would have said out loud now that night.
You know, we have a
This gets you away from your.
25-year-old son. He's like, Mom, Dad, you're not getting any younger.
I'm not carrying you up
Your
those
ground
steps.
floor is on three levels. What are you thinking?
Should have said it out loud that night.
so, that you're always trying to optimize as many things as you can, and you can't optimize everything, but in any event. So the footprint is the same, except for the wish to have a way out of the hyphen on this side, and which would then have little bluestone or some that would be basically a summer. The first thought it was a handicap access ramp, but the geometry and the elevation and so on conspired against that, so it really wouldn't work. Plus, it would be in the lee of prevailing wind, and so that'd be a snowdrift, and it'd be held to maintain it. When you have a covered breezeway, a connection that's covered from the place where you're putting your cars.
Can I just kind of outline the outline of that? What the kids felt is that in the summer, when you drive your car up here and you leave it outside and you don't use the garage, nobody's gonna wanna walk through here and go all the way around. People will wanna walk straight in the house.
Yeah, which is something
Which
that we
is
just
what-
never talked about.
Which
Yeah.
is something and they were like, that's kind of what you do, you just walk straight in. So this has the advantage of now, and the other thing, if you wanna put a wreath up on your front door, we now, this like is a French window, but it's like a place you can just walk in from.
I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you because I don't remember something.
So it's
On the
America.
back, excuse me a second, just a question to make sure I
Yeah,
follow
sure,
you.
yeah.
On the back side, we're going back to the three windows across on the first floor of the main mass, right? Which is why we don't have an entrance on the old portion of the building anymore, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
here's the back side. And so this is that set of, there's a landing, of course, and then there's a set of steps coming down
Okay,
at
thank
that
you.
side. And so, yeah, this is America, you go in the back door.
Yeah. Their front doors for guests.
What
They
were
never
the-
show up.
The rabbi and the priest.
She
That's
can
right.
take you out at
Right,
the end, yeah.
right, and the casket, right. So footprint hasn't changed, so we'll zoom in, and,
The other plans are behind
oh,
that.
okay, it's right there. So breezeway connection, and by the way, we have the budget menu. We're gonna show you two versions. One is where the breezeway is actually glazed, and where it's only glazed up to this glazed entry, and so we have it both ways. So now there's a open stairwell, and this space, which is a nice open space, so we have this kind of circular stairwell, could be a pneumatic elevator or a lift. So the pneumatic elevator actually, or similar elevator, could actually connect all floors, the upper floor as well. I mean, it could go to the basement, but and a lift could just simply get you up here if that seemed necessary or appropriate. And then this would be in the future an accessible bedroom with an accessible bathroom on the main level, so that there's a lot of living that can be done on that single level once you get there. Otherwise, the footprint's the same with the exception of that entrance. And then the second floor, just so you see it, has this open stairwell coming up, and then a big room that could be subdivided into two smaller rooms at this end, and there's no attic. And when there's an attic, but it has a drop-down attic kind of staircase to
Right.
get to the
This was
mechanical
storage,
systems,
it's not
just
living
storage
space.
and mechanicals.
Was there, I don't remember from last time, was there always an opening in that hyphen on the riverside?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, there's always been an opening on the riverside.
so now that's an
It's,
interesting
uh,
pass-through too.
Right.
Symmetric,
Right.
Yeah.
both sides.
So it's that kind of nice thing where you see through the house and
Yeah.
you're looking through it. I mean, it always was, but now you're actually able to pass through and you can get out to the patio.
Well, and it creates another opportunity for visibility
Yeah,
through the.
yeah, so, and then physical access out to that.
It makes the hyphen more airy,
Airy, yeah.
which was kind of the goal also.
Right, right.
Now, you're seeing another lattice enclosure here, because when I looked at the kinds of runs for refrigerant lines, I realized that we ought to be, we might, at a location over here might be optimistic, and so this corner turned out to be it seemed like the least damage.
Is that down in the well?
It's not down in the well, because if we put it in the well, it's a resonant,
Oh, right, we talked about that last time.
you've got a noise issue, because these things are top, they,
Well, that and also, it needs air, because that has a lot of
Sure.
air.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
yeah, you need ambient air for cooling, and probably in order to, if there's gonna be any conditioning going on here, then the runs are gonna be way too long from over there, and the line sets will be, it just won't work. So, we're showing that as another place for condensing units. And if, this is, kind of in our pocket as another place that stuff could be put, if it's not necessary, then it'll just be the pool equipment at the other end of the garage.
Can I throw something out too for consideration?
Yeah, sure.
I'm thinking about our workshop, we're making our way through the design standards, and edits, and thinking about
Mm-hmm.
how they work, and one of the conversations we had was about lattice, and it has just always been part of the design standards that you screen with lattice,
Yeah, right.
and we had a discussion about the fact that sometimes lattice makes things more obvious, not suggesting that you leave it
Right,
unshielded here, but we did have a conversation, think about and look around at other types of screening, structural screening around the village that aren't lattice. Remember I sent you that photograph of
right.
Le Bouchon across the street, which has sort of a cut pattern. And
Yeah.
for
More like a
one of the things I
fence?
think about, well, that's more like a rail, almost like a rail, like a baluster. I can see the need, why you would need to have it there because of the runs.
Yeah,
But I feel like if you were to stick a a piece of lattice there, you're not going to like it either after all of the all of the work that you've done to both beautify the original portion and be so thoughtful about the addition. So if you do end up needing to be in that space, I would hope, since we're workshopping and spitballing, that you might think about a more creative and sort of I don't know, more designy approach that's not lattice.
Yeah,
After
And
all
have
the
it
wonderful
covered
effort
to
you made.
match the house in terms of the, I've seen that.
I mean,
Well,
it needs to be what pleases you too.
the
So
problem is that, you know, it has to, the thing that lattice does accomplish is ventilation.
yeah,
And so you need a basically 50% open, something like that.
Yeah.
And so the design stuff where you do, you know, you can do pickets and then you do little, you know, you can do diamond shaped divots, you know, with pickets, it's a little hard to get to that level.
Well,
And
I think that all we're saying is that
you're not restricted.
everybody automatically defers to lattice, and
Yeah.
there are other options.
then they always refer to lattice in the wrong way,
Yeah.
and they do it diagonally, and they don't.
Well,
Do
you know,
it with the openings too big and not in smaller sections where you framed it, so it's actually got a little recessing and that kind of thing, so you've gotta
I know what you're
handle
talking
it
about.
properly.
because even without the cutouts, you can have something like, you know, boards which are at an angle, and it'll allow you more than enough,
Yeah, you can do that,
stuff like
yeah. That's a kind of a contemporary,
Right.
you know, there's a fencing like that, you know, it's kind of like, it was big in the 60s.
Yeah, well,
Not that I'm.
No, I mean, all we're saying is that,
Yeah, no.
Doesn't
no,
have to be
no,
lattice.
Of course, yeah, I mean, human, you know,
Human header.
designer's creativity, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can do, yeah.
What was your thought?
It's
I have a question for the board. If we end up with geothermal heating, this is a moot point.
Oh, how
But-
I was
Exciting.
going to say that because I put it in my house.
Well, that
That's
was my
awesome.
next question for the board. Does anybody have it here?
Yeah, we have it right on Main Street. The orange house that sits
Mhm.
on the lawn of St. Mary's has
And do you have to be a
geothermal. Andrea's
bazillionaire, or
house.
is it something one can envision?
Well, depends on who's digging your well.
Yeah.
And
I would-
How far you have to go down.
But
You guys
did
might
it.
be- I
Great.
did
I'll
it
get back to you
recently.
personally and ask you who,
I have a
how,
guy.
where. Right,
Well,
because that's one of the things we're envisioning as a solution to this,
Mhm.
because that stuff, that ugly thing that goes boom
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
summer, goes away.
that's
Well,
it.
and if you were to do something like that, if it were to end up being within your budget and a real possibility, to me that would be an excellent demonstration project for this village of incorporating that kind of green technology into a
Well,
preservation project.
The concern you can well imagine is the archaeology.
Well,
So
of
there's
course.
two ways for
Of
your
course.
wells, you for your pipes, your geothermal.
Mhm.
You can dig down, which is the expensive way,
Mhm.
or you can dig out.
Open loop.
Actually,
You have a lot of land. You can probably get away with an open.
It
But where they have to that would
But
open.
that means
I ran
more
into rocks.
archaeology.
Yeah, but
no.
seeker.
I mean, more archaeology with the lateral, but actually,
So that's what we're thinking about.
the Garrison Institute, we did 23 wells, and you know, for 100,000 square feet, but.
But remember that you, at our last stage with the archaeologists, you had less area of concern at the end
this
of the
becomes-
second inspection. So maybe it's not the deal that we were worried about. I would hope.
I don't know if they can put it under your basement.
Yeah, I don't-
well,
No.
can
No.
they run it down your driveway?
All those questions. So this is what we're thinking of,
Right.
which would make the lattice point moot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know the geology, but I think you're gonna wanna do vertical wells, and,
Well, I
If
think
we
going
do
vertical,
it.
the issue there is, at what point do you hit rock?
yeah, rock is good. Rock you want good, cause you have a competent hole, so that's not a problem.
That and also let's, a more dense thermal storage medium.
Yeah, no, you have good heat transfer, in rock, as long as it's not rotten, you know, we can, I mean, I've done an awful lot of geothermal, so I don't wanna divert the conversation.
So anyhow,
Good
just,
stuff.
just a sign, we're
But
thinking about this, maybe we'll
The
be
good
talking
thing about it,
lattice.
yeah, there is an expense because of the well.
But you'll already have your walls open. Which
And,
makes it so much
you know, you have to make sure you have the right kind of loads.
Yeah, we're not gonna retrofit it, we're gonna
Yeah.
do it when we do, when we do everything.
If
I
this
did
is,
on the
if this is done
Right.
as, you know, kind of the equivalent of a very tight and heavily insulated, then you start to not have enough loads necessarily for
Mhm.
the heat pump, you know, ground source heat pump. Anyway, so that's, if there was geothermal, that goes away, which would be all wonderful.
Just a quick question, and I'm looking at the opening between the original house and the link.
Yeah,
And I see what you've done, and I've seen why you did it. I guess my question is that the exterior wall is part of the original fabric,
right.
and I'm just wondering if perhaps that opening can be reduced a little bit without too much of a change? No? Okay.
We're already this is our kitchen and this is our kinda eating,
Right,
and so the hyphen already sort of broke our hearts.
right.
Please don't
Okay,
don't
okay.
break my heart again.
It's gonna be inside, I'm not gonna see it, just it's historic fabric.
Well, it's probably not intact either. I'm trying to remember. That's where that wacky bathroom and
Oh, yeah.
Well, the corridor itself, I know that's not historic, because that was added when they added the
Right.
addition. And probably what you had there was, windows that matched the windows on the other side.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's probably like a 4-foot opening. And so that's what, what's going away. Okay, but I
This
won't, I
bit, I'm
promise.
sorry to say to indict myself, this bit is probably original.
That one?
This bit of wall
But it's on the
here
interior.
is probably original.
Right,
This bit is not because of,
because when they
The
added
addition. but this is
Okay.
still there.
Alright.
So, it's like a foot and a half of wall.
I'll defer.
But
We
we-
can't
It's on
say,
the
it can't be
it's also
said.
an interior.
It's an interior
element.
wall and.
Well, at one point it was an
it
exterior.
was-
Okay.
There was
I
a
asked the
sort of
question.
lament for the,
Yes.
that fabric. Well, it'll be well
Save the brick and use it someplace.
It'll be
Oh, yeah.
it'll be well documented, yeah, and,
We'd like to make the whole brick foundation a little
Right.
brick, if we can.
so, that's the plan set.
The folks who were here before you invested a lot of time in bricks. Oh, you probably have sources of salvage, but I was going to say they'd probably be a good resource for
To where to get old bricks?
local salvage brick.
Huh?
But you are
That
too,
would
I'm
be
sure.
great.
All right, good.
Oh, maybe you can email me
Sure.
their contact.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
So the south and north elevations, when the dormers went away and, things changed, we took another look at it, the little hood treatment started to seem really like somebody with a mustache up here, in the wrong place. It seemed, forced.
You mean the pediment?
Yeah, no, well, it's sometimes
Yeah.
called a Germantown hood.
Yeah, yeah.
It's this little, and I don't know why it comes from Pennsylvania, but where there was a little slope.
Yeah.
And so, it just, the more I looked at it, the more it seemed to interfere, and without, I don't know, when the dormers went away, we took another look at it and just decided to keep it as a simple volume. The windows haven't changed, and there's still, a little light coming into the attic
Actually, I think that's
at
a
each
good call.
end. And
Great.
then, and obviously this elevation is the one that really changed, which is that this set of windows, we now have some basement windows because of the way the grade comes down. We're able to get a little more light into that. We're actually having a basement. We didn't have a basement before. There was a slab on grade. And then similar windows to the other end of the building. And then because of the option of 2 rooms, we have a double set of windows, and then actually that center muntin is actually, I think, that needs actually to be enlarged in the event that it was 2 rooms. And so the hyphen is pretty much the same, except we now have French doors leading out to the landing and the staircase. And this is a little complicated business here because you're looking at an angle, you're looking at an elevation at an angled element that's kind of heading out to the garage.
I was really enamored of that German.
Germantown hood?
The Germantown hood. I was thinking of it as a pediment. I was enamored of it last time,
Uh-huh.
but now seeing it drawn more simply,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the addition reads as more of its time. And this side of the house feels much more functional to me now with that entrance on this side.
Mhm.
Because it did so much feel like you were backing into the house.
Yeah, actually, you
Before.
know, that's an
Um,
interesting idea, yeah, that you now have, you know, in a way, 3 entries. Obviously you don't, this one is buried, but in a sense, you know, that and that, but
Mhm.
that kind of, to the guts of the building, you're really coming in there, and that could be nicely, you know, that would be glowing with, you know, light on the inside, and that whole hyphen would
Yeah.
kind of be
Yeah.
beautiful, illuminated.
I
Yeah.
actually I think it's much better in the direction that you've gone.
Yeah, no, it just, you know, it's, you sit with these things and then
Sure.
they evolve.
Plus having those basement windows sort of ties you back to the original
Yep.
fabric as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so they're actually scaled pretty similarly. And this is the, what happened on the long elevation. What happened in the stairwell is that we thought it would be kind of wonderful to have you know, one of those windows that the staircase passed by.
Mhm.
And, you know, the big vertical element there. And don't miss the dormers, but it does sort of connect, you know, it sort of connects things in the middle of the building, and then you get these little lights that are high in that playroom, possible future bedroom, and we reduce the number of windows on this side of the building.
Do you have what it was before?
I'm sorry, I should
I
have brought
do.
that.
I
Yeah.
do. We probably got. I do.
Yeah,
We probably have it here too from last time. It's just a matter of finding.
I like the long window. I think it's elegant. It
Thank
right. It
you.
ties in.
You made my day.
Well, I like it because it you know this is a contemporary facade. We don't have to pretend it's something it's not.
yeah, right,
And
yeah.
it just it breaks up the surface of all those windows,
Yeah.
or the repetitiveness, I should say, and it draws your eye to you know the what are we calling this? The breeze, not a breezeway.
Yeah,
I think it just ties it together.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, no,
My
I actually think it is
daughter's
kind of nice.
other comment to this, Kathleen, is that had a certain off balance,
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
symmetry to it, and she said, I don't like the way it's not symmetrical in some sense, and this with the long window seems to sort of give it more symmetry and is more visually pleasing than that was, we felt.
It feels more purposeful.
Mhm.
You were aware of grade change, etc. I feel very flexible about the long window on this facade.
I think anytime you can add more glazing to break up a long run of siding is great.
Yeah, I think it does, you know, speak to the difference between the original building and this building, and I mean, it does, it's of its time, contemporary, even though there's you know, you can find a lot of 19th century buildings that have you know, this kind of grand stairwell, but it's usually in a slightly different, you know, it's kind of positioned in a different way in the building. And this really hasn't changed. So these are the versions with the glazing and without the glazing. So where the glazing is confined to just that the entryway, and that's simply budget menu option A, no.
Mhm.
I don't understand what happens
The
to the
breezeway's
door.
just a roof.
We got rid of the glazing in the breezeway, so this is just roofed. It's truly a
Oh, it's open
breezeway
air, or
as opposed to a
breezeway, yes.
glazed connector.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
This
and
is a
then
glazed connector.
there would be a door into that area here.
Yes, there's a
Yeah, so
door
it's boxed.
here
Yeah.
in plan, so that,
It's just 'cause now we have to dig a whole basement underneath all that.
Right.
And that's more money.
so the plan, there's a door here, and so this is either glazed or open. In other words, it's either truly a breezeway, it's covered, and you can get under cover, or if, you know, the budget seems okay, then then this gets enclosed.
I think that both of those options are compatible. Again, it's the completely new facade. And either way, you're maintaining visibility through. It's almost less distracting to have it open.
One of us really hopes we can glaze it in so that he doesn't have to,
I don't blame one of us.
Now you have
Well,
that little
especially on
door
a
on
windy
the
night,
back.
a windy night like
Not like
tonight,
tonight, yeah.
where it's 50-mile-an-hour winds.
You gotta just take one for the team, man.
Right, exactly. So this is, sort of cut through, where you're looking at, kind of through the original building, at the east elevation of the addition, and you can see the kind of the landing and the staircase, and then, the potential lattice or other
Not necessarily
wonderfully,
lattice.
wonderfully inventive design solution to let air in and around that machinery, but visually conceal it, and then again a sort of flat elevation view of a diagonal element. And
So
this,
it's too tall to tuck under the stairs.
I was gonna ask that too.
yeah,
Is there
Yeah.
any possibility if there is not a window opening? Oh no, you can't. I was gonna
it's-
say to recess, but it needs to be
yeah,
there.
that's tough, and plus,
Yeah.
you kind of want to have the
No, all the things you said earlier.
the fan
Sorry.
outlet up.
Depends on Andrew's geothermal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then this is,
I'll trade
pretty
glazing
much,
for geothermal.
this is what it is, just restored
Mhm.
with, and
The thing that doesn't bother me about the condenser units is that that's kind of like a utility
Area.
area. And the technology will change. That's not a permanent thing. That could be much smaller someday, so I don't worry so much about,
I'm not worried about it,
It's not
except I think it
permanent.
would be a shame, given all the care that's
Oh,
been
yeah,
taken
yeah.
overall, to have that right at that lovely new entrance.
Yeah.
But if it is,
I
it's
mean, I
not
also
the end of the
agree
world.
with you, you drive up and it's the first thing you see.
Yeah, you don't want
Yeah.
that either.
Sitting there right in
Yeah.
your face.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you could also do without air conditioning, but,
Well, that was my
Not
choice.
here.
well, but wait a minute, don't you have a water feature, isn't there like
There's a fountain in the middle of the driveway, yeah. There's a picture.
The pool.
can't that be used as a heat sink?
you wanna do a water source heat pump?
Oh,
You
'cause
can
that's
do that,
already
yeah,
been-
There's a block-off well, there's a capped well there,
Oh.
and we won't be able to put, I don't know.
for the geothermal, that
Yeah.
thing they were talking about, the water.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
well.
because-
Because typically, the whole point of fountains are called swamp coolers. I mean, you get cooling when the water is squirting up and then evaporating.
Yeah.
And so typically fountains are cooled because you have water squirting up. So, I mean,
This was
just something else to
I need
check
somebody
into.
more technically
You meant-
sophisticated than me.
Were you
to check on
proposing
this.
that as a location for geothermal? Is that what you're saying?
No.
I don't understand what you're
Well,
saying.
with geothermal, basically what you're doing is you're using the ground as a heat sink.
Uh-huh.
And what I'm saying is that instead of the ground, why don't you use the fountain, which you already have.
It's an
can.
evaporative cooling system. It's
Well, it's a little bit more than evaporative because the evaporation keeps the fountain cool, but you use the water in the fountain as the heat sink.
It's like 3 feet wide though.
I know, but the fact that it's a fountain though, that's spraying
Okay.
water up in the air
Well,
cools it.
We will look into this.
run it by the engineers, right?
Noted.
And the garage, the Germantown hood, because the idea was there was a family resemblance
Right, right.
to the garage, and so that also got simplified, and obviously it has, both of these buildings have bigger overhangs, and the garage has an even bigger overhang than the house, just to bring it, to sort of ground it. And otherwise, it hasn't changed, it's simply the same shape, same roof pitch, but simplifying that, and it was getting a little bit kitschy, you know, it was
Yeah,
getting
it's
a
more
little bit-
understated
little
now,
bit-
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's obvious what it is, it's a new building, partly defined by the angle. We have some comments from Weston Davy at SHPO about the angle, and, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation and a response to him on.
That was actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask you while we were all together tonight,
Yeah.
because I think that opinion is hooey. I don't think that, I mean, I don't think they've looked at the back of the building and understand the resource in the way that we do.
Yeah, no, of course
And
not.
it would defeat all of the purposes we've talked about retaining that kitchen. So when SHPO gives a contradictory opinion like that, what is the local board's requirement to adhere to that advice?
And we have to make our own judgments.
So we can respond to Mr. Davy to say the reasons why we went in
Well-
this direction.
All his opinion is an advisory opinion. They have no say in the matter. This is a courtesy that we are extending to SHPO. They're taking a look at it, but ultimately it's our call.
Because I just don't think he looked at that facade
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
I don't think he really has been to this, I mean, I know him, he's a nice kid, he used to be at New Paltz, he used to run the Huguenot, or used to be the technical guy at Huguenot. So I'm gonna have a little conversation with him, and then we'll write our response in Glenn's piece.
So that's the applicant's responsibility as part of part 3 to respond to
That's
that
right.
communication.
That's
Okay.
right, so we'll do a little piece, first I'm gonna talk to Weston and sort of get him off of,
Yeah.
clue him into some of the issues with the scenic Hudson, visual
Mm-hmm.
easement issues that really push the addition, you know, to be really in the disturbed area where it was and back, so, you know, it's all, yeah.
Well,
I
and also
agree
what
with
would be lost if
you. Yeah,
we
right,
went in that
exactly,
direction,
yeah. So that's really, you know, what we were able to do since Monday night.
Well done.
Not bad.
You know, I don't have the, you know,
The
kind
slide.
of animated, you know,
Well, yeah,
walkthrough.
we want the
with-
fly through on the sketch.
Yeah, I know,
up
we
there.
couldn't, you know, really somehow get to that, and,
I mean, I think it's lovely. It's deferential. I did really enjoy some of the visual aspects of the last iteration, but I think this is much improved and does defer to the original building much more.
Mhm.
I think it makes the addition more understated.
Yeah, very much so.
yeah.
I mean, I think your comments about bringing out the original building, I think this really highlights and
Yeah,
makes what
it lets
was
it be grand.
an amazing building, really does it due justice.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I think this is the solution, you know, and all we're doing is sort of tweaking things here and there, but otherwise, you know.
Okay. Good, thank
Do
you.
have any thoughts?
No, I have nothing to add.
Good, all right, thanks.
I have one more request. We would like to build a garden shed. This is 12 by 14. I went to a company called Pine Harbor, which is on the Cape, which makes garden shed with real double hung windows that are all wood sash and all wood, and does them for all the historic districts on Cape Cod. And they ship it to you as a kit. And we have picnic tables and we have stuff in the house that we want to be able to so that we can enjoy the property in the summer. And this would be actually the first thing we would build. And so my question to you, for a 12 by, it would be in exactly the same location as the existing broken down garden sheds, you know, as you drive down, there's those,
Oh, yeah.
those garden sheds. Is a picture of it enough? Do you need, I can send you a link to the website, how much information do you need for a garden
We
shed?
need to know the species of bird that you're planning.
Materials specifications, right? If they
Uh,
can, they can give
okay.
you a list of materials.
I can give you a list, they are cedar and pine. All the materials are pine and cedar.
And you'll have to, it's on grade, right? It's not being, there's no foundation being dug for it, right? So you don't, there's
No.
nothing,
No.
and this,
The options according to the builder are a slab or to put it on whatever, dirt, whatever. But it would be more durable. I mean, it's quite, if you don't go to Home Depot and you get the fancy one and
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
cedar, it's more expensive, so our thoughts were that we'd want it on some kind of slab so
Right,
that
right.
it doesn't rot.
What is the existing shed? What you're saying is that this is replacing an existing shed.
Correct, this is
And what-
replacing the existing sheds,
What is that shed sitting on?
the ground.
the ground.
That's why it's rotting.
All right, so, yeah, I mean, I would think that, I agree with you that I think you'd wanna put it on either some sort of curb or a slab.
So what would they need to do? They would need to update their site plan,
Mm-hmm.
so you
Well,
get through this all in one sweep, yeah?
Yeah, I think that, we need to get through the EAF.
But don't you
Process.
want to get this as part of that process, so it's finished, it's part of the seeker review?
Realistically, I don't see this as part of the secret. I mean, this is a replacement. I can't see this being that important element in,
What I would propose, so
Okay.
that we don't end up with them having trouble later, is ask the question of Bonnie. They've come
Mhm.
forward with this proposal, these are the existing conditions. How, do we need to do anything at this stage to keep this moving smoothly, or can that wait?
or can it be put off?
Especially because they're saying
deferred?
they're building that first.
Send it to Carolyn.
Okay,
And-
I will
and
send
she'll-
her
and
a
Bonnie
photograph,
at
a
the
link
same
to the
time.
website and Bonnie, and suggest we need a garden shed so that the house is so that we can use the property.
And that doesn't count in your square footage for scenic Hudson because it's an ancillary structure, right?
Correct, and
Yeah.
it's also replacing an existing shed. There are actually two garden
Right,
sheds, so replacing existing structures.
They're probably
Same
going to put it
utilitarian
on the site plan. just-
Yes, no, but
For good
before
measure,
he
yeah.
did that, I wanted to sort of ask the committee what we need to do to get this done. So I will, write to all of you, or just,
Sure, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, send it to Carolyn and Bonnie, copy everybody else.
okay, good, and discuss.
Just so you don't get tripped up later. I hate
No,
to
we
lose
found
time
this
over it.
company that's on Cape Cod that does things for, that's also a very historic place, and they're used to building things that meet historic specifications, and they send you the kit with all the materials.
Cool.
Well, you can tell DEC that the cupola here is for the
Bats.
long, yeah.
And for the long-eared bats, right, those are long-eared bats, they're really birds.
You're trying to give them someplace they can go
Come,
to
yes, yes.
while you're doing the work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is there
Right.
anything else that you need from us?
That was our only question, because we thought it might be nice to use the property. I think it's unlikely that this will be done for this summer. Is that probably a correct assessment? That the building will be completed by the summer is unlikely?
Sure.
I think that's probably a correct assessment, but if you can get the pool in, we'll all be over.
Probably a good bet. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
so
you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm very impressed with the
Good.
turnaround.
Well done.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Come on down, Bob Hayes.
Can I come up?
Yeah, come on up. Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem.
As ever, our time estimates are
I
short
went to
and
a
long.
Yankee game today, I flew out of work early, so I actually went back and attended the game.
Come Come up to the table, you don't have to sit far away.
We're just gonna look things with you.
That'd be terrific.
We promised we would.
Do I know everybody?
No, I do not. In fact, I wanted to get your
They
name.
look terrific, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Al Skolinski.
Al,
Hi,
what's
Andrew
been
Hahn.
very exciting is that
The husband of
people
Hill,
like
Hill of Hudson
plans
Hills.
the
Yes.
house more and more. With every
Chef
iteration,
extraordinaire.
they like it more and more.
Well, it's better than the other
Yeah,
way.
It is, but I think it's a process to grow attached to things,
C-O-N-N-O-R.
and I think they've been part of the whole.
All right.
And you want to spell into my last name?
Good.
And,
Because I know you probably
this
didn't get
particular
it.
iteration, everyone really,
That's always a good start.
Thank you guys very much for coming.
Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sorry, I appreciate
So my
Well,
understanding
not
is when we
accustomed
get
to,
after we present these for a vote.
procedures. And I was
Sure.
here,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
a
watched.
couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and he said, dude, you gotta come back. And come in, lay out the case, and we'll help you through this thing. And then last week,
Last, we had to cancel last
which,
week.
that's fine.
And I'm sorry that you didn't, that wasn't, because we didn't have you on the agenda, Jeff didn't know to contact you to say we're not in here. So
I don't know
anyway,
how
you're
that
here
all worked.
now.
I spoke with Chuck last week, what happened, and then I spoke
Some
with
things
him.
did get communicated our way, so
Yeah.
sorry.
And I probably did not do my due diligence.
Here you are.
Yes, so
How
here
can
I
we
am.
help?
So I think it's pretty simple, but I know, I'm hoping it's simple. We bought the building about a year ago. The building is in such disrepair. It has been for a long time. I guess one of the first things we want to do is address, for over years, for 6 years, 7 years we've owned it, we've dealt with the interior, piecemealing it, not owning it. And I don't want to bore you with the details because it's, now we own it and I'm not proud of the exterior. And I want it to help reflect us. Painting requires proper, in my opinion, and people I've talked to about, the gutters suck up top on actually on both sides, but on the Main Street side. And it'd be a maintenance issue, so I've been told, and I've talked to several people, I get so many different answers from contractors and building, the building department, so here I am, asking you for your blessing and guidance.
Did you bring any pictures with you by chance?
No, nope.
I'm having a hard time pulling from my memory what it is that is on the building right now. Is it asbestos now?
You know, I've been told yes and no, okay?
Well, a cementitious, not necessarily asbestos, but it's a cementitious board, right? It's not wood on the
No,
outside right now.
no.
Okay.
Some areas it is,
No,
but
we're talking about the Hudson House?
Hudson Hills,
Hudson Hills.
the restaurant on Kemble.
129, 131.
Kemble, across from the building that got the second story and the
Line out
pediment,
the
the brick
door
building.
every day.
Across from Jimmy.
Across from Jimmy, okay.
With-
The one right on the corner there.
You know how you'll
Yeah,
remember?
right on Kemble.
Right across from Blue Olive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember that we met the previous owner came
Yeah.
in with pictures on the phone.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, he's
okay.
improved this. Okay. Yes, and then, you know, I want to put an air conditioner on it. Okay. Got
So addressing some of the, I don't know if it is or is not asbestos. From my understanding, it's pretty easy. Some of them are cracked, broken, missing. Okay, I understand they make a,
They make
Replacement.
replacements, they
Yeah.
do.
and so boom, we replace that and then paint it. But the gutters, which are an issue because they don't work at all on the upper section. So replacing the gutters on the upper section, the second floor. I've
So
been
you-
told,
Sorry, before you go ahead, you're wanting to replace with what is existing on the outside, or you're wanting to remove what's on the outside?
well, I'll tell you what I hope you say. So I've been told several things by different.
Well, we'll tell you, we'll give you the straight story, so tell us
They're
what you'd
Yankee
like to
gutters.
do.
They're Yankee gutters,
Mhm.
and that was great in the day,
Mhm.
but they don't work very well. They're rotten. Okay, so after talking with people, they said, boom, sister it out about 12 inches. Throw a soffit under there. Throw a real gutter. Line it with aluminum, and call it a day.
But in terms of the siding, I'm confused about what you wanna do
On
with
the
the siding.
siding would be replacement, not obviously asbestos, matching the existing.
Okay, so first we need to figure out what the existing is.
Right.
The one thing to know is you're in the nationally listed area of the historic district.
So you wanna put back up asbestos?
Historic asbestos.
Historic asbestos.
Yes.
It's gotta be real asbestos.
So what you can reside with
Mhm.
is a little more limited than in other parts of the district to natural materials.
Okay.
On new construction, we've been a little more flexible in the national district, but we're not doing new construction there. So, do you know what the condition is of the wood siding that's underneath?
Oh, I don't know, without peeling it back.
So one of your tasks is to have a look at what you've got and see if what is on the building, if you can pull all of that off and work with the wood that's there, that would be superb. Who knows how things have been changed over time or what condition it's in?
You know, I have been very curious about this, okay, because the clapboard was what I believe most of it was, and I can also see some shiplapping in there. The original building is X, they put an addition on, I don't know when, and then they put another addition on.
Yeah, on the
And
back
I don't know
side.
when. I do know on the one side, it's gotta be totally sun rotted, okay? And they went with that shingle, I don't even know what you wanna call it, but I've been called it asbestos, the shingle
The
that's on
wavy,
it.
mhm.
Yeah, with the,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like hell.
I've got it in my house.
I was gonna say, my first house here, same thing.
If I had the means, if we had the means, I would like to strip it right down to the original, okay? Throw up some proper siding and insulate it. There's no insulation, I
Yeah.
guarantee you,
Yeah.
okay? But all this is extremely, it's cost prohibitive for us right now. It interrupts our business, interrupts our tenants.
So you're looking for an interim solution that gets, what I think you're saying is
A
you're
coat
looking
of
for an
paint, in
interim
my opinion,
solution.
would make the place look
Paint you
much
don't need
better.
us for.
I understand.
Yeah.
But in order to do it
You have to.
right,
Yeah, you wanna get your water problems dealt with.
yeah.
So it
I
sounds
agree.
like what you're looking for, you have a long-term plan for your building, but right now, you're looking for a more immediate resolution that deals with your water issue, allows you to bring the water management to a place that new work won't be damaged again, and
Correct.
increases improves the appearance of the
The
structure.
aesthetics of
So,
the inside.
so it
But the
sounds,
water management issue is really the roof, it's the gutters that you're dealing with.
Correct.
The
The roof
Yankee
and-
gutters. The Yankee gutters, I mean, they work, the Yankee gutters that you have probably date back to when the building was built.
I believe it.
So, the thing is that, you're talking about something that is probably over 100 years old.
and hasn't been maintained
And they
for a long time.
activated.
Well, the issue is that I don't think we as a board would recommend, unless, Abe Lincoln ate at this particular restaurant when he came to visit the village or something like that. I mean, we wouldn't insist that the Yankee gutter be restored. I mean, if you restore it, if it's restored properly, it'll probably give you at least another 100 years of good service. Certainly longer than shingles. But what we've seen is that most people will fill in the Yankee gutter and hang an exterior gutter on the outside.
And it's already been covered over, right?
Yeah.
So there's precedents all around the village on residential properties and on commercial properties for half-round gutters or box gutters that
4 inch, 6 inch.
that are hung alongside what was a Yankee gutter or under. So what we're talking about is, I'm just trying to go to our gutter section.
I did see it.
We're redoing this document right now, so it will be more user-friendly by the time you get around to your big project.
Okay.
Garbage, gate, gutter, there's no illustration. But there's this shape, the box gutter, there's the half-round shape that's commonly seen around the district and historically, and then there's the K gutter, that's that sort of I can't,
Which
I don't know
you
what a
guys
K-Gutter
like
profile looks,
It-
half round or
it's-
box,
It's straight in the back and then it curves up, or it actually goes.
but we're not
goes
recommending
down.
a K-Gutter, so.
Yeah, I mean, a K-gutter is typically what is there now. But the thing is that the gutter, in order for the gutter to work properly, the edge of the roofing needs to be flashed properly.
Correct.
Otherwise, you're just gonna, keep having problems.
Are you doing the roof now?
The roof itself is in not bad shape, but from what I've talked with some guys, they've peeled back 3 or 4 layers and go from there.
Reflash it, put in the
Reflash it.
gutter.
Oh, I
And
see,
then
so
put in-
partially redo
Right.
the edges,
Yeah.
uh-huh, so you'd match the shingle that's there.
Yeah.
And deal with that drainage
And
issue.
potentially deal with the chimney. The chimney looks like it's been there for, after Chernobyl. It's terrible.
Well, that's not that long ago.
Well, then
It's been a rough few
oh,
years.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, yes, so you understand the pre-existing condition of the building. Does this sound like something we can go forward with? And then painting,
Well, are you
Replace-
talking about the gutters or the chimney?
the chimneys, I believe a maintenance issue, right? So
And
that may just
repointing it.
deal with it, repoint it.
But what you wanna make sure you're doing when you redo that chimney is getting your mortar right
The
now.
mortar right and the flashing right and potentially doing a whole new
Right,
roof at that point.
so that the seams between the bricks aren't globbed on, but
Right.
you have a proper joint between. What worries me, I don't see I see these things as issues that are sort of urgent issues that keep this building with us for a bit longer until you've got the means to do more. And, this happens all the time in the village, that people have to stabilize a structure until they have funds to do more. And so we're happy to help you along in that process if it keeps the building in our district. What I'm worried about is what you're gonna find when you peel back the roof and you expose that rotting gutter.
Yeah.
So, you may end up needing to do replacement and kind of the joists that are there. I mean, who knows how far back the water intrusion has gone?
We don't know, we
Yeah.
don't know.
And that's, that you're not
We've
gonna know
talked
till you
maybe a foot,
open.
maybe more, but we don't know.
So to put an application like this in,
Mhm.
I'd like to
Well-
go ahead.
I guess the question is that, we've told you what we're thinking of. Isn't this really repair? I mean, he doesn't have a Yankee gutter now. He's got a regular gutter, and basically what he's talking about is taking back and repairing the edge and putting in it. Right now, what is the roof drip to? Is there a gutter?
Yeah, but a lot of it ends up coming down the front of the building,
Yeah.
and there's been water issues, and I don't know as to the extent.
Right, well, I mean, my question is that is there an existing gutter there, a hung gutter there now?
On the second level, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you're looking to do is replace that?
Not the second level, the first level, I'm sorry. Let me try. The second level, I'd like to replace, and the first level is,
Functional for the moment.
oh yeah,
Okay.
that works.
So the second level, and that's where you have the water problem?
Right.
Okay, so is there a gutter there?
That's the Yankee gutter.
It's the Yankee gutter, there is no hung
gutter.
gutter?
No, on the first level, there's a hung gutter.
Okay, but on
4
the
inch.
second level? And the second level is where you have the water problems
Correct.
that we're trying to address?
Well, and probably around the foundation. It does crash down when it rains.
Yes.
In event, you'll get there eventually.
Okay, I mean, there are two ways of doing this. One, you can either rehabilitate the Yankee gutter, if that's the way you wanna go. And to me, that would be a repair, it doesn't need to come to us.
Right.
If you do in fact change it from a Yankee gutter to a hung gutter, then you'd have to come in, you'd have to get a detail from your contractor on how he plans on doing it. And what I would recommend is probably have him do some probes just to see what you're dealing with underneath or
How far
inside, yeah. See if there are any, rotting wood issues,
Mhm.
because, that would affect how he's going to.
Flash it and,
Right.
yeah. And right now, just to make sure I'm understanding you, it sounds like right now, you're not looking to take off any of the siding, you're looking to infill where it's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that also is a repair.
Okay.
And there are actually, somebody was just here not long ago who had leftover, I don't know if it will match yours exactly, but, there's a couple on Parrot Street, Danny,
Transite.
I can't think of their architect, we can connect you via their architect. They did an addition on a house that had that asbestos siding.
Okay.
And they had to buy a whole lot, you couldn't buy it in individual pieces, so they got a whole bunch, they have a bunch of it sitting in their basement, and they said, if there's somebody looking to replace pieces, let us know. So I don't know if it will be exactly the same pattern as yours, but it's worth
Probably
Danny,
better than what I have.
Mike Mancuso and Danny,
Did I do?
blah, 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 blah.
Was-
That's a long time ago now. I mean, it's before you were on the board, it's
Oh,
not that
yeah,
long
I don't-
ago,
I don't
but
It's been a while.
Madeline Sanchez was their architect.
Hmm.
So that may be up an option.
Ultimately, I mean, the building is horrendous. We were lucky to be there, as you know, and
We're lucky to have you.
it's such a piece. But I've had guys come through, contractors said the bones are still pretty good.
Yeah.
But nobody's put anything, so we need to, I would like it to help reflect, okay? And then there's the second part of this, if you guys are ready to
Yeah,
go
we're
to the
ready.
second part. The kitchen, and I would like to make some adjustments in the kitchen, which would require a maintenance issue to the hoods. The ceiling is truly about this high.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
there's no room, and the hoods were poorly designed. I don't know what year, but they were poorly designed. The temperatures in that kitchen get exceedingly hot.
Yeah.
OSHA would shut me down in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
After talking with an architect, A would require raising the roof about a foot, and at that point, I would change the positioning of the hoods from the, I guess it would be the south side to the east side, and actually extend it out.
The upslope
2
side,
feet. Yes, yes.
so you'd be facing a backyard over there.
I'd be facing closer to, 129, 131, 133.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't seem to think, but he's an architect, and he's not from here. He is, but he's not familiar with dealing with you guys.
Mhm.
What it would do several things. It would enable me to increase my line from an 8-foot line to an 11-foot line. Line being a cooking line.
Mhm.
To be able to raise the elevation to exhaust the heat and to help exhaust the heat exhaust the heat and everything else correctly. Because if Bajarski was telling me
He's not our building inspector
I know.
anymore, yeah. just so
So
we're
when
clear.
Bill and I were talking one day about my situation, he said, first of all, everything's exhausted out horizontally, needs to go up. And, which we would do. And, from the standpoint of, from a fire safety, the architect was telling me, double rocked, done well.
And you're gonna wanna double check everything that Mr. Bajarski told you with our current building inspector.
Yes, I spoke with Greg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a
He's-
stone against Bill. This was something I proposed to him several years ago. And,
Right.
He's wrong about having to go up,
Okay.
but you can go out horizontally, but it has to be above a certain height.
Right.
Which
All in all-
in your case, really doesn't make that much difference.
Would he have to go to the zoning board with that kind of change?
No, he's not changing the footprint. You're not talking about extending the addition on the ground, you're talking about extending it up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I mean, moving the fence, would that be
I don't think
an
so.
issue?
And
That's
it's
a
not a
building
zoning
inspector
issue,
issue.
it's a
Okay.
building code issue.
I mean, that building has already been modified a lot on that facade. I think if anything, the modifications that you're going to make are gonna improve the aesthetics of that side of the building.
right.
So I don't think, you're not gonna have any hesitation from us to look at ways to improve your business space.
Okay.
But that, you sort of need to come back with an idea of what it is, how it is that you wanna configure that. So, we can also do a site visit, we can come and look, but it's useful to have images of what's actually going on back there now, and then contrast that with what you hope to do. And at the beginning, as you're working out details, you can come in with very sketchy drawings if you want feedback on an early version of it.
Okay.
The thing to
Go
keep
ahead.
in mind is that we typically look at character defining features.
Okay.
And in your case, it's really the front, the,
Major.
right, the front porch and the front facade. The facade along that side street, which is where you would have the impact.
And the back, the kitchen's on the back of the building.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right,
it's from
Yeah.
well, but,
From Kemble,
but
yeah.
basically it's that, because I know the kitchen area, because that's why, the guy who showed us he wanted to add the air conditioners, I think that was for the kitchen.
Yeah.
To me, that's not a critical elevation, even though it is very public, because it's right there. And I would be willing to give you some leeway on that, as long as you take care of the front part, which is really the part that is the most important as far as your building goes.
In terms of not changing it, you mean?
Right.
Well, the other thing is that what you're proposing is a modification that keeps a building in commercial use in our district, and that has tremendous value to this board. So improvements that allow a business to keep functioning on Main Street are meaningful. So don't feel that you're not gonna be able to make changes.
hear you, no.
Yeah.
And that kitchen is like a weird
It's a
little
hobbit kitchen.
addition. Yeah.
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 Off the record, I've worked in a lot of kitchens. It's the
Cameras on.
hottest
Okay.
kitchen
Yeah.
I've ever worked in.
I can only imagine.
And doesn't it have like a
everything-
skylight or something too? Did I
No,
imagine
that's
that?
the backside. That one's
Oh, that's
little.
the okay.
I
That's
don't
the little
think it's
slide.
maybe
Okay.
100 degrees. Because it gets extremely hot. I mean,
Yeah, I
extremely
believe it.
hot. Yeah, and it's after talking with hood people and architects and fire people, they said, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard raise the roof 4 feet, and I don't think that's necessary.
Raising a little, getting better ventilation.
Well, and by changing the footprint of the hood and restructuring the hood, and it would work.
The other thing I would say to you is don't feel like if, as you're preparing your application, don't feel like you have to wait until a Wednesday night meeting to get in touch. Let me write down I'll write down for you the contact. If you send a question and it's something that doesn't require a vote, if you need advice on something, we can talk you through things and come and
Ultimately, I
see.
would like to get this done before we get
busy.
busy.
Yeah.
Hot, you know.
Yeah, which doesn't seem it's ever gonna get hot again. But I know we're gonna go from paying for heat to paying for air conditioning.
Yeah.
Make sure that's right.
From the architect I've talked with and contractors, it shouldn't slow us up too long. Yeah.
Good.
Um,
We like getting there.
yeah.
So, a question that I have for you, given that it is visible from a public right of way, it is a modification to the structure, but it is a minor modification. Does this rise to a level of public hearing? Given, there's also that
Well,
there
I
are
think-
residences on the other side, and you're
I-
moving the vent.
That's why I asked about zoning because I didn't know if
Well,
moving vents around fell under their purview.
The only reason that I
shouldn't-
raise it is totally different scenario, but we did review
Whistling
the
Willie's.
movement of event at Whistling Willie's, and we were looking at it from a design perspective, that's our purview. It wasn't the only location that it could have gone, and it has ended up dumping exhaust fumes into the neighbor next door. And I'm wondering if from a conflict mitigation standpoint, it's helpful for you to, as a part of a public hearing, notify neighbors, those residential neighbors right next door, to say, we wanna be part of the conversation. I realize that's opening a whole can of worms.
It is, and I believe the architect, already explained to me what he would do, is it would be on that wall closest to my neighbor, 133, it would come up in towards the building and then up, more towards the center of
Your root.
our building, our roof.
Gotcha.
Okay, this particular person I'm dealing with is very, he deals in the city.
Mhm.
He's like-
Oh, so he's used to confined spaces
Yeah.
and neighbor
Oh,
issues.
yeah, yeah. And, so,
So I was asking the chair,
Yeah.
really, what your thought is on public hearing because of that
Well-
change, because we've got a lot of blowback from the vent, as it
So
were,
to
blowback.
So do you have a precedent of doing that? I guess not.
No, I mean, Whistling Willie's was probably the first kitchen exhaust vent that we've dealt with as a
Yeah.
board.
Well, and then we dealt with Jimmy's.
Except,
He wasn't changing the vent, no, but he was working around the vent with the staircase, that's right.
so, yeah, I think that, I don't know, I think that we'd have to sort of see what he's proposing. I mean, for example, after looking at everything, that is possible, if you dump it towards the street, then would that really require a public hearing? I think that,
See what his design options are and then
Yeah.
come back to that question.
yeah.
Because what you were describing, if it's moving closer to the center of your roof line, it's actually moving away from the neighbors from where it is right now, so.
and that's what I asked him, so why are we going up and then out and then up?
Yeah,
He said, well, keep it away from your neighbors.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it seemed
Well,
counterintuitive, because everything I see comes out and then up.
right,
do you have tenants on the second floor?
Yes, but they're set back. I don't know. how
Oh,
many
right,
feet.
because that's an addition where
Yeah,
the
it's
vent
an
is.
addition,
Mhm.
yeah.
mhm,
They're set back.
So I mean, I think we need to look at that
mhm.
and come
And
up.
there's no windows there.
So it's not like they would open their window and
Right.
exhaust would go.
There was a window, but it's boarded up.
Nice.
And what's weird about it, it's all the way at the top of the roof line. And if
Oh,
you
like
look
an
at,
attic window?
no, it's like right underneath the gutter line. Like comes down probably.
What's it open into?
Is it?
On the
is it
inside,
like-
I can't tell anything. There's nothing.
must
is
be
it-
the attic.
Is it like?
No, it's not the attic.
It's like 2 feet high?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's, it's those small little windows that
eyebrow
are
windows.
usually.
I know what you mean, Al, but I don't think so. Especially from the inside, I think it was just sheet racked over and put
Well,
a piece of
a lot of
plywood
times
over the
that's what they do.
Which
they just-
I intend to deal with
Yeah,
when we
they
do
sheet
the
rock.
roof, we're gonna deal with.
Right, they
That's all
close
there
up
is
the
for it.
windows, but you have to remember that attics also require a certain amount of ventilation. And originally, that's what those windows were for, it was to
That's-
get some air circulation.
If you saw it, you'd go, no, it's not on that, it's not.
Now I have to spend some time looking at the backside some more. So,
Yeah.
It is so
Really
weird. Our
Shallow.
insurance company said, you guys gotta deal with that stuff, and I said, what is it? The guy came out, and he goes, I don't know what it is. And we went inside and looked, he goes, there's no window. And I said, there was a window. There had to be a window, but why would somebody put a window up on that side? It's gotta be, 24 by 24-ish.
Right,
well, remember that a lot of stuff got done here for a
without
long time
anybody.
without anybody
Total
watching,
DIY.
and,
well, that and also, a lot of the buildings were built before they really had building codes, so.
And it's on
they
the
just-
original part of the building.
strange. So it sounds like for now, the work that you're proposing to do is largely repair. You're gonna decide what you're gonna do with the gutter. If you are wanting to hang a gutter, you're gonna make an application, and that application would include a cut sheet for the gutter that shows the profile of the gutter and the material, and box or half round are preferable in that part of the district. And you'll wanna let us know how your leaders are coming down.
I suppose right now they're coming down to the shed roof of the porch. So I'm assuming that's about the way they would come down.
Okay, well, whatever you decide with the person who's installing them, because
Okay.
they may have ideas to manage the water differently. The infill on the siding is repair, so we don't need to
Right.
see you about that.
Okay?
The roof, if you're repairing the roof, is repair, so
Yep.
if you were deciding that you wanted to reshingle the whole roof, that'd be a different story, we'd need to talk to you about that. You need
Okay.
to make an application for that, but,
What for color
no, material.
material?
We don't have anything to do with color. You can paint the building purple if you wish. We hope you don't. And then when you're ready to talk about the hood and to show us what seems to be the most logical track,
Okay.
be in touch and we can have a look.
All right. And when would we be able to meet again?
Let me get my calendar. So you need to apply for a
We've got a
building.
meeting next week.
Yes, and that's the other thing. Do I get a hold of the building department? Do I get a hold of Jeff?
So the application for the building permit is on the village website.
Right, and that goes to Jeff, right?
It goes to Jeff,
Mhm.
and Jeff refers out to boards. I can't see any reason that you'd be coming anywhere but to us at this point.
No, not unless he's gonna change the gutter.
Right, I mean, but there's no reason that zoning, he'd be
Oh,
referred to other
zoning,
boards, yeah.
no.
And then, once you have your referral, then we can, and your application is complete, we can get you on the agenda. So we meet again next week. Jeff's pretty quick about referrals. So if you can have all of your stuff ready, what day is today? The 4th, right? 3rd.
Mhm. The fourth.
Or-
I'm looking at
Fourth.
January, that's not helpful. Today's
was.
the
Yeah.
4th, it was helpful. I mean, if Jeff can turn it around, if you can get yourself ready, he can probably turn it around in time for you to come in on the 11th, and we can put you under old business tentatively for next week.
At the 11,
Yeah.
4711, okay.
Yeah. And then the next time we're together in a voting session is the 25th of April. We have the public hearing for 7 Marion Avenue, but we could do it after, because we'd be in session, a voting session anyway. So if you're not ready on the 11th, you could come in on the 25th. So
Okay.
just when you communicate with Jeff, just copy that email address, and then I'm in the loop on when you're trying to come in.
So my architect is waiting for me to say, go. So I'm gonna talk to him about go on the roof line,
Mhm.
okay? I will talk to my, the other half of it for contracting for the, gutter. And, I may be able to be back here by the 11th.
Okay. Just let
Great.
us know.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for waiting late. Thank you for taking care of the
Waiting.
building.
No, thank you, no, it's,
You'll get there.
yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I would love to have it happen yesterday, but it didn't. But, we're going forward, and,
Good.
We're patient. It's positive motion.
Yes.
that's it.
Forward motion.
Thank you so much.
Thank
See
you
you
soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, good meeting you. Thanks. How do you stay awake?
I know, right? I don't know
I'm
if
still
you.
No
waiting for
comments.
minutes.
Set it and forget it. Good
I
night.
don't know if you want this tonight or you want to hold it till next week.
Let's hold it.
It's nothing. It's Phil's.
Oh, that can definitely wait.
Okay, minutes. I
no.
have comments.
Uh-oh.
No, not,
I had to
Good
read
comments.
minutes for tonight. thought we were doing them next week. I didn't read any.
We are,
tonight.
but I'm gonna give
Yeah,
them my
but you
comments.
can give me yours, I can make
So
yours.
can we adjourn so
Yeah.
Michael can leave?
Oh.
Or are you?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oh, no, is it
That's
need
right,
to be in
this
session?
is not official. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Sure.
Okay.
This way.
What was that fellow's name,
Bob Hayes, Hayes.
Thank you.
I don't know what the address is, but it's Hudson Hills. I think it's
Yeah, yeah.
129.
Okay.
Hudson
one-
Hills, I know.
124, nothing.
All right. No, this is good, cause now I can get a head start and start, at least make the edits that you want. And then
Okay.
wait for everyone else.
So, 131.